Good afternoon, good night, good morning for some, and welcome to Freedom from Nigeria. It is Saturday, the day before Easter, so we're going to wish everyone a happy Easter. Thank you all for joining us again today. And as usual, we're going to have a very invigorating discussion today. We're going to be talking about and welcome to Freedom from Nigeria. Nations achieve independence the day before in Easter, 1960. So wish everyone a or are they being ruled? Thank you all for joining us again today. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. As usual, this information is very important. Not just to discussion. Those in the diaspora, but those on ground zero in Nigeria who have not had the opportunity to learn the history of Nigeria because that was removed from the school. So it's very important for our people to understand what's going on. You know, as usual, we've got a panel of people from different parts, from the Middle Belt to the South, who would be participating Motube to give us an invigorating speech on that. And then we're also going to want to inform the world about what is actually going on. What is the impact on the masses in Nigeria? And Dr. Carey, if I can have you talk a little bit about kind of what's going on. You can mention the IDP camps, you can mention poverty, you can just kind of talk about the impact of people on the ground. So without further ado, I am going to welcome Motube to give us an uplifting speech to encourage our people to know that yes, we can win. Motube, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Jean, and welcome everybody to another interesting group forum. Yes, you said so the question is, have we really achieved independence, or are we being ruled by others? To my response to that is that no, we really have not achieved any independence, and yes, we are being ruled by others, because the colonial masters, that is Britain, made sure that they did not leave the leash. I mean, they did not leave the leash unattended, right? So they passed the leash on to their, they actually put the leash in the hands of their friends in the North. And because they know that the friends in the North will always dance to their whims and caprices, so naturally they will pass it on to them. And how have we seen this manifest? Well, first of all,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I wanted you to give an uplifting speech to our people.
I will segue to that. I'm going to segue to that.
I just wanted us to start with that before we get into a topic.
Okay, but yes. So again, I mean, I was just going to give one or two examples of why we are still under suppression. We're still being ruled by others. But I'm going to say, though, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? It is not a done deal. It is not, I mean, it is not done until it is done, right? So there are things that we can do. And some of this and some of the actions or some of the initiatives that we can take to make sure that we reverse the situation, because the situation is reversible. So we will discuss some of this right during this program, and I welcome everybody, and also I am excited to have the discussions with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And everyone, just to remind everyone, Motube is a strong proponent of the fact that, you know, there is power to the people, and the people have overcome time and time and time again, from the French Revolution to modern day, where people have overcome in Chile, where they changed the constitution, and around the globe as well. So
Barbados
people
recently.
in South Africa,
In South Africa.
where they were under a similar situation that Nigeria is in. And yeah, some people don't know that, yes, we are under apartheid. And they were able to reverse that. Yeah, it might feel, like very painful right now, but we're trying to tell every indigenous Nigerian from the north to the south who are ancestral landowners, we can do this. We can take back our country. We can take back our self-rule. It's our right to self-determination. Yes, we can do that. Next, I'm going to call on Dr. Carey. Carey, I wasn't sure you were going to be saying something, but I wanted to be speaking. I just wanted to talk about what is the impact. We talk a lot about, we see a lot of what's going on, but it's always nice to summarize for the international community, for everyone, what is actually the impact on people on the ground. So Dr. Carey, and I'll have a couple of people actually chime in on that because I think that's important and very important to know that. Dr. Carey.
Thank you very much, Jen, for this opportunity to talk about the impact on the ordinary people. There is, as you have seen from the statistics you sent, with about over 400,000 killed and about 400,000 refugees, and especially 4 million displaced persons within the country, in their own indigenous communities, it's catastrophic. The disaster, it's enormous. It's when you talk about 4 million people, it's actually more. It could be because these are the data that's captured, so it's quite dire, in the sense that they are ravaged in different perspectives. One, as we mentioned about the intelligence report the United States or United Nations had given Nigeria about 3 or 4 years ago, that Boko Haram was moving. They were moving to the middle, to the south, to the northwest, to the south. Now, what is happening is that there's a combination, that's genocide. So there's genocide, which is quite impactful, decimating communities and making them destitute, those who survive. And because they're predominantly farmers, they are not allowed to go back to their farmlands for years now, for about 5 years, I would say 6 to 7 years since this government came into power. Some communities in Benue and Plateau have been displaced. So they have lost their means of livelihood, apart from the trauma. So there's a trauma of losing their family or members and so on in the community have been displaced. So there's the impact of trauma. There's also loss of income. All right, complete loss of income. And there's destitution. All right, so the impact. So you've lost your income. You have not, you can't go back to the community. Therefore, their livelihood is completely taken out of them. So they're destitute. So, and then there's also poverty, imposed poverty, deliberate ploy by the militia, the jihadi, because as they abduct or kidnap people. So the strategy is hit, kidnap as well, kill as many. So, and then they ransom in millions and hundreds of millions they're getting. So the people are impoverished. They can't go to farm to improve themselves, and they can't work. Therefore, so it's economic, it's social, it's also emotional and psychological impact on the people. It's so enormous that when you go to the camp, from the teams we have, as you know about the project we have in Nigeria, they are traumatized. The trauma, I'll give you one scenario, for example. There's this woman who's a widow who sent her 2 children to live with her parents in the village. And they came and killed the grandparents in the presence of those children. That's some example. So you see your grandparents, so they managed to escape and back to live with their mother. And so the trauma, they're so traumatized, and there's no provision for trauma counseling, for healing process. I'll give you a scenario. In Kaduna State, for example, southern Kaduna, quite close to Kajuru and Chikun areas where there's daily killings. When I say daily, the ones you hear reported as the ones that are, you hear, but the ones that are, as of today, two communities are under, as I'm talking to you now, under siege by, they were attacked on the 21st, they were attacked in March, and now today again, there's a siege by the militia. So they are on constant, killings, and also constantly running and constantly coming back. And the government has not allowed the communities near Kaduna to have, you can't have IDPs, because they have to tell the community, they want the international community to say there's no killing going on.
Yeah.
So the impact, I will pause here. So I'll summarize. The impact is psychological, it's emotional, it's economic, it's also, they're completely been made destitute without any foreign support, without any support from the government of Nigeria, or state government or local government, and no support from, say, United Nations, for example, because the narrative is that it's a conflict. Therefore, it's something that's internal and we're dealing with it. Therefore, don't send any help. And the international community is not doing anything about it. So it's so dire, so worrisome, so terrible. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to take the time to show some images. And let's be clear, when we're talking about 4 million, we're talking most of that is in a particular area in the middle belt. This is ethnic cleansing that is going on. This is ethnic displacement that is going on. This is really the killing of the futures. Okay, so I just wanted to show a little bit of the images. This is what we're talking about. Okay, this is what we're talking about. We have repentant Boko Haram who are being housed and fed and then put into the Nigerian community, given homes and money and cars and everything to survive and free land. And these are the landowners. These are the victims. These are the victims of those repentant Boko Haram. These are the victims. This is their condition. No clean water, not even a place, not even a place. This is what they have to deal with. Mosquito netting put over rocks. That's what they have to deal with. And so we need to make it clear. Okay, everyone is talking about what's going on in Ukraine, and that is horrible. But this has been going on in Nigeria for an extended period of time, this ethnic cleansing and genocide. So I just wanted to point out to folks, these pictures here are real. These are real. These are real human beings in dire straits, while those who have perpetrated these atrocities, these human rights violations, unchecked, unpunished, and rewarded.
Now, Jane, let me just add a little bit to these pictures. This is Boko Haram predominantly, but the one done by the Fulani jihadis, the militia, it's concealed. It's actually worse. If you look at the index, the Fulani militia, their atrocities is actually worse in number, in impact, in effect than the Boko Haram. There's a lot of report about Boko Haram. That's the one that everyone hears about. I'll tell you what, the amount of massacre, the effect caused and the destruction caused by the Fulani militia, which some of us believe, and without any apologies, they are backed. I mean, I call it, the term I use, they actually have the backing of government, whether directly or indirectly. Absolutely. One, because they have the sophisticated, they were using AK-47, now they're actually using machine guns. On the 21st of March, for example, they were able to go to communities with machine guns and operated for 2 hours from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. without anyone interfering. And I said, today they're doing the same thing as I'm talking to you now. I almost wanted to say I was not going to come. I thought, no, 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 that would be fair. I told you I was going to come because I'm monitoring what is happening over there.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm going to come to the meeting. I said, now I'm talking to you. 2 communities again are under siege. This is the 3rd time in the same year alone. So the
Right.
go would now it's no longer just AK-47 because our people can fight and fend off AK-47. Now they have graduated to machine guns, to
Rapid fire.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
fire.
so
Yeah,
more
and I
fire.
mean, and we're talking about they have rocket launchers, right, to bring down planes.
They do have rocket launchers now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So because the communities are knowing that the government is not defending anybody. What the government did was to actually disarm these indigenous
they disarm
communities
the citizens. Yes.
Before this onslaught
from the middle
started.
belt to the south, they are
absolutely. So
yes.
They disarmed everybody and armed the Fulani militia. Now they're not only armed by now they have. So those killings are the ones that are not even reported.
Yes.
The data, it's worse than what Boko Haram is. Because with Boko Haram, for example, to be fair to the victims of Boko Haram, the United Nations, the UNICEF and other ones are pumping a lot of money to the northeast. The government is able to rebuild them, have super camps, super schools, and so on. That is not happening in Benue. It's not happening in Kaduna. It's not happening in any of the middle belt. Yes, nothing, absolutely nothing. In fact, the deputy governor of Benue said the government of Buhari has abandoned them. And it's true.
Yes. No, it is true. It is true.
Since the governor of Benue has been outspoken, they have been completely sidelined. Benue is not getting any help in any form.
Yes.
In southern Kaduna, they're not getting any help. I mean, when you saw the report I sent, when we sent our team to go and give them food, if you saw the video, the rush, the joy, the mixture of emotion that at least they're being remembered, they have some food to eat. So they don't know what next, where next.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to have camps near Kaduna. You can't have camps. You can just, the government doesn't care where you're going to stay. Yeah. And the lands have been taken away, both by Fulani and by government. Government is also taking the land of the indigenous people and turning them to emirates.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and housing Fulani and settling them and making super cities for Fulani in Kaduna.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like the plan, and we're going to talk about that, as we talk about today as to what the plan is, and we'll show those same videos again, the one of the Fulanization, because it is important for our people to continue to understand what's going on in Nigeria, that there is no herder-farmer conflict. There is a herder conflict in Nigeria. Is herders killing rightful land owners. That's what's going on in Nigeria. And for anyone to continue to call this herder-farmer conflict is being absolutely disingenuous and complicit. And I'm saying it here to all the foreign reporters, to all the foreign countries, to the United States, to the United Kingdom, to the EU, the UN. You need to stop talking about herder-farmer conflict. These herders don't own the land. The farmers do. And you cannot continue to support those who are going against the law and murdering people and taking their land. Let's be very clear on that. Crimes are being committed. And we should not cover it up with this nonsense about a conflict. When the farmers are unarmed, the government is not coming to their aid when they're attacked, after they're attacked. And the rest of the populace, over 100 million. Yes, you heard right. Poverty capital of the world. Over 100 million living in poverty, with 9 million of them as of last year who are now on the brink of dying from this poverty. That's a tragedy. that the world is ignoring and should not ignore, because Afghanistan is one thing and it's contained in one place. But this evil that's going on in Nigeria is all of West Africa that is being impacted. And the world would know no peace if they are able to get their hands on these resources with no oversight. They already have monopolies. We'll talk about that as to how Nigeria is being governed. The indigenous nations have been governed. But this is a wake-up call for the world. We are waking the world up right now. You cannot say that you don't know. We have told you. Your intelligence has told you. So let's move on from that. And it's very impassioned when we talk about, you know, who the victims are and what's happening to the victims. When you look across the aisle to what's happening to the perpetrators, it is just heartrending. So anybody else want to make a comment? Any more comment on the victims before we move on?
I just wanted to add an angle I forgot to mention, the risk of exposing young girls to prostitution for many years now, because the families haven't got any means of income.
Absolutely. I mean, that is a big problem.
There's a likelihood of exploitation.
Yeah.
All right, you know, of the young girls.
Yeah.
And then also drug addiction could set it in. So it's actually a complex, you know, it's multifaceted, it's quite complex. It's being compounded, and the government is turning a blind eye, and the international community is turning a blind eye. I mean, like you rightly said, I mean, I would say this is worse than the Ukrainian crisis.
Yes.
But look at the amount of resources that is being pumped and attention in the media. I'm not playing down what is happening in Ukraine.
I agree with you. In no way are we playing it down. It is horrific.
Worse.
Yes.
By far worse than what is happening in Ukraine. It's terrible. It's so bad that today, as of today, people travel to go for a wedding that I know about and had to be turned back. So no social events. You can't travel freely anymore, all right? You have to, so that people's lives are gagged. There are people who have not traveled to their own villages for years now.
Yeah.
Now they can't. So social events are cancelled. Church services have been affected. Churches have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Freedom of worship.
Absolutely. The amount of churches that have been destroyed.
Yeah, and I tell you what is happening. The media is being gagged. If you are a journalist and you're speaking so-called against the government, you're telling the truth, you will be incarcerated. Your life is at risk. These are some of the things that is affecting the victims of this genocide, this program. It's a program.
It is a program. It is a program.
I call it state-sponsored program.
Yeah, state-sponsored terrorism for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I think at this point, you know, I mean, when the International Criminal Court comes out and says that the Nigerian armed forces have committed crimes against humanity that rises to the level of war crimes, it is state-sponsored terrorism at this point.
It is.
Pretty much. And I think we've heard Lafia, we've heard the governor of Benue, T.Y. Danjuma, you know, and a lot more have come out to talk about what's happening to this victim. So let's talk about, did indigenous Nigerian nations achieve independence in 1960? Are they still independent? Or are they being ruled by others? So let's talk about independence. Donald, do you want to talk to us about what happened in October 1st? What was the agreement? You know, what did these nations get in 1960? Donald, do you want to walk us through that? You are muted. If not, I can go to someone else. Madupe, do you want to take us through that while Donald, I'm not sure why he's muted.
Sorry, I think you disabled the screen, so I cannot share.
Oh, no, you can.
Well, it says that it's disabled. Okay, now I can. Okay, all right.
Yeah, let me just, sorry, I meant to make you co-host because then it just allows you. So,
okay.
Okay, so you're
all right, so can you see my screen?
Right.
So independence, which was achieved on the 1st of October 1960. So at that time, we had one of the most important agreement was that there will be regional autonomy. So what this means is that each region consisting of the eastern, western, northern, and north and middle belt, and as well as the later on Midwestern region, which was created 3 years after independence, that there will be self-governing. And so what that means is that there will be control of assets. So each region will have jurisdiction or control over their assets that are obtained in their, within their boundaries, right, within their borders. They'll be able to control the progress there, like commerce, like trades, marketing, and stuff like agriculture, those kinds of things. If farming is, for example, in the Western region, right, farming is like, like the main source of income in that, in that region. So the farmers will still have control over their, over their, their progress and their daily, their daily activities. They will also control who they associate with, right? An important one is the one which is they had their own constitution. Each region had their own constitution. I remember vividly that, part of what was read in history is that the Western region had our own, constitution, and then also each region had their own ruler or leaders. So, and the only thing that the center was actually doing was to like be like a again, like to be like the center or the rallying point where each of the regions would decide, will then contribute a certain amount to the center. So again, the center was there, right, to in a supportive role rather than being the main focus of the union. So that was where we were at the time of independence. So I'm not sure if Donald wants to take over now, but but this is like a synopsis, a summary of what the agreements were at the time of the of Nigeria becoming independence. And remember, Nigeria, it's a country of nations, because yes, each region,
federation,
nation, they all have their own. They all have their own, culture, their tradition, their governing system before the whole advent of 1914 and all the, what's called the amalgamation again. So all of those, all those things were in place with each of the nations that made up the the country called Nigeria. But as we proceed, through the from 1960 and up till this point, gradually all of those autonomies were being eroded gradually until now all of the regions have no autonomy at all. And what we have now is a unitary system, which is not what which cannot work for work in a country where you had nations. It's just not going to work because they are not unitary. So
So I'm like, the key takeaway to this is that we had nations, and these nations had their own self-determination, which is important to understand that. And then as we go forward, we'll talk about what has happened since. So let's talk about things broke down, right? Things broke down. Monica, if you want to go to the next slide. Things broke down in Nigeria.
Yeah, things broke down.
There was an accord to try to fix it.
Yeah.
Donald, do you know much about the Aburi Accord? Do you want to talk to us about the Aburi Accord? Anybody can talk about it. So, Donald, are you with us now? Or Honorable Ogarako, you can pick that up as well, or I can go ahead and talk through it. So let me just talk about that. And then Donald, you can talk about divide and conquer, what they actually did, which is in the next slide. So the Aburi Accord, what ended up happening is that the powers of these regions, the nations, were taken away. And, you know, they had the military, they had all of that going on in 1966. And so these Aburi Accord was to restore power to the regions. And some of the key things was that the members are going to agree that there was going to be a federal military government. The authority would remain with the Supreme Military Council, which will be made up of, you know, a combination. And then that they would also appoint senior ranks in the police, diplomatic, and consular services that will be approved by the Supreme Military Council. Again, trying to make sure that things stay, that there's, you know, federal character, pretty much.
Can I say something real quick? Just, you know, regarding the Aburi Accord. Yeah, that actually had to happen because of all of the commotions or the issues that occurred before the before that accord came into inception.
Absolutely.
If I may just go back quickly, you know, because if we can do like a kind of a chronological, you know, like kind of recap of what actually led to the Aburi Accord itself, because the accord became necessary at that because of all the things that were happening. So after the independence in 1960, and we know, and again, you know, the environment where that led to the independence, you know, even though things were, the agreement was for autonomy to occur, but the way administration, the operations were going on, there were no, all of those provisions were not being observed. If I may just sum that, you know, there were lots of, disagreements here and there, and it's because the provisions were not being followed. So what happened was that, one side, amongst the political parties, and then we also know that, the northern part, had their own party. Basically, the way the political environment was set up is that, every region had its own main political party, right? So then later on, when some faction, it started, gradually, when some faction, within one region started to have, issues and disagreements, and then it led to a lot of widespread, infighting, that kind of
discord, right?
Discord, exactly. So
violence.
The violence and everything. So one of the regions, I'll just say Western region, the constitution was suspended. Now, if the constitution of a region, is suspended, how would they now be governed? So then it means that a lot of the governing was now coming from the central, right? Which is actually a violation of the agreement that was already made, made at independence, that each region will have their own autonomy, their own constitution. So if you suspend one region's constitution, how would they govern themselves? So that kind of escalated, the disagreement even more. So then there were lots of calls to the military to intervene, to kind of quell the troubles. So eventually, the military, did intervene, right, in January 1966, and and it was the first coup in Nigeria. It was a bloody coup, because a lot of those people were, a lot of the leaders were eliminated or were killed.
Absolutely.
So with that caused even more, more bickerings. Even more than bickerings, that even caused more commotion, because a lot of the, the region where, some regions felt that they were being unnecessarily, they were being unnecessarily attacked, or they were being unnecessarily targeted. And so they reacted in such a way that they started killing innocent people who had nothing to do with any coup, right? And so then it actually rose. I mean, then the other side that felt like, oh, wait a minute, why are you killing us? You know, so those ones too who also had officers, you know, I mean, who had officers in the Nigerian military, so, you know, rose up and spoke against that. So all of those led to, you know what, we need to go back to the drawing board. And that's what caused, you know, the Aburi, that's what brought about the Aburi Accord. Like, you know, everything now is in commotion. You know, this part felt like, you know, they've been wrong. This one felt they've been wronged and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to, you know, go into who was wrong or who was right. But what happened was that, you know, all of this development, I mean, all of this led to the development of the Aburi Accord for, you know, to kind of bring sanity back to, you know, to the insanity of those days that, you know, of the things that were happening then. So, and so again, you know, the purpose is to make sure that the central will still respect the autonomy of the, the central will still respect the autonomies of the regions. And that's the purpose of the Aburi Accord. But, you know, go ahead, because we saw later on that all of those, the agreements even reached at the Aburi Accord were not followed again. They were violated again. And then the country broke into civil war. So I'll pause there.
Okay. So, and that's a great summary so that people would understand kind of what's going on. So again, this was to restore what had been broken. The Aburi Accord was to restore what had been broken. And it unfortunately fell apart after the agreement was reached. If you can scroll up a little bit. After the agreement was reached, it broke down. There were a couple of sections. There was a section, there was section 70 and 71. And this was highly egregious if you are in here, because at this point we now had, you know, they're now going to have the states and blah, blah, blah. And so if the Supreme Military Council can declare a state of emergency, if the head of the federal military government and at least 3 of the governors agree to do so. So that could result in really tricky situations to some of the other regions, you know, who are now being divided into states. And then section 71 was that they could, if there's agreement with at least 3 governors, they could, during the time of emergency that they declare, that they could now actually rule those regions without their consent. And this is what broke the camel's back, because this was definitely not in the spirit of what was agreed to. It was not in the spirit of what was in the 1960 Constitution and the Agreement for Independence, where they're supposed to remain autonomous and self-governing. And so this is what kind of led to the civil war that we had, which ended up kind of being a genocide there. But let's talk about how did they treat these nations? Let's talk about what they did. Donald, if you want to take us through divide and conquer, the things that they did to these nations.
Okay, yeah, good evening all. Sorry, I've been a little bit distracted here and there. Am I being heard?
Yes, you're coming in
Because
clear.
for some reason, my speaker has been a bit low. Okay, it's you know, when we look at the situation of the country, it's very, very unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate situation that even when we all know this, and most of our audience and a lot of Nigerians all understand what is going on. And from the summary that Modupe and you and the host has been breaking down. So, like now we're talking about the divide and conquer. One of the first things they did when they saw that, a level of understanding amongst the people creates a level of resistance. So I think that was why you had the sudden creation of the 12 states. And it was actually designed because of the possible resistance of the people from the southeastern regions at the time, after the return from the Aburi camp, the Aburi meeting, was to quickly remind the people of the region that after all they were very different, and it could help you. It could help you if you agree to work with us and be the enemy of these other people. And because you had the government here that was in charge of the entire region, so they had to create different governments. Taking away that power to control the region into different people, different individuals that would actually do their biddings. At every point in time, you actually will always have what they call the house rats will always do. So that's what happened when you had the creation of states like the southeastern states that later became Cross River State and River State, and later became River State and a part of Bayelsa. And this has continued to be so. Even after that, we've had different, because you see, it's a very funny thing. I was listening to one analyst today by chance, because usually I feel very, very uninterested in listening to anything that comes from, that talks about, because of the sad stories that we keep hearing every day. So I don't really want to listen to it, but unfortunately, I got to listen to a guy today that was trying to say that Nigeria is a very funny situation where you have, we are running a federal system of government. We are said to be running a federal system of government. And when you actually look at what a federal system of government is, it's usually where you have existing units coming together to agree on certain terms to live together, to have a central government that will, and they're going to give certain rights to, especially things like defense and marine and so forth. But in Nigeria, you have the unfortunate situation where people just sat down, not elected. All the states that were created in Nigeria, none of them was created by any democratically elected government. All of them were created by people that came against the will of the people. They sat down and broke into pieces nations, villages, clans into like what I would say imaginary drawings, just to create that division that has made it very difficult today for our people to speak as one, because they have done this and made the people have suspicions against the others, even if these are the same people. You have, okay, for instance, in my place, we have villages in my own states that has the same name, local government that has the same name as the local government in another states, but being pronounced based on the dialects. You have Otoro, Itoro, it's the same thing. You have Itungus or Itunguazo. That is between Akwa Ibom and Abia State. So they technically broke out these people, and they also, for some reasons, create these imaginary problems that you have these villages fighting themselves and not knowing that they're actually the same people. So if they have to be a decision to be taken, these people already see the other people as an enemy.
Yes.
And this technique has really worked and has really destabilized us further and further and further, and has kept us apart. And it's a strategy that it's something the British actually brought in and handed it over to the people that they left government power to when they were leaving. And this has continued to keep us the way we are. And it depends on the decision of the people. It's something that we should be able to do. And see, these things has, like it's stated here, has really created a given rise to increase in corruption that is basically taking away accountability.
Yeah.
Because if you are trying to look for your own opportunity, and this guy is there, you say, oh, it's my turn, it's my turn, because they have broken it down to the turn, and it's been very, very unfortunate. It has taken away the autonomous powers of these regions, these states that would have been able to control what they want to, because when they're breaking all these things, they are still controlling everything concerning these imaginary lines they've created. And there is no level of autonomy when it comes to, because you are talking about federating units. Federating units should be able to have, they should be able to have a very high level of autonomy. But because of these divisions, because they are the ones that put these divisions, and they are the ones that put the control that these imaginary units can have, and because they are the ones doing it, they can decide to, like what they have done. They've created, like what we're seeing here, they've created several local governments. You see, everything has been designed to take away power from the people, to the ones that they want to rule over us. They have taken over, they have created more local governments, because their constitution says they are going to share revenue based on local governments, revenue shared on land size, and so forth. So you look at the criteria for which these local governments were created. None was given. None was given. All they do is create this thing, create federal constituencies. They use that to have more representation in the National Assembly and the state houses of the National Assembly. Basically, they have more control there. They have more revenue that goes towards there, and everything boils down to non-accountability and increased in corruption. So it's a very unfortunate situation. It's a very unfortunate situation. Jean,
Absolutely.
I get so angry when I talk.
I know. I know. That's why we have to kind of share the love. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, the divide and conquer strategy that they're using. It's not just. I mean, yes, it has the financial implications and and even geographical implications, but what about the psychological implications?
Absolutely.
Because it's like when they carve part of Yoruba land, and then group those people in Kwara State and Kogi as as North Central. What they're basically saying is that they cut them away from the culture that they know, and then try to make them feel like, oh, you are part of the North now. So, yeah. Basically, what they did was to cut them away from their ethnicity, their ethnic group. So that way, and that, when we actually, as human beings, right? Because we're social animals, right? I mean, we're social. Yeah, we use that word animals, but we're social people, right? Yeah. You do well amongst your own, right? So by them, isolating you and putting you in the midst of people who have absolutely nothing in common with you, it kind of minimizes your ability, to progress in life. And that's exactly what Ahmadu Bello meant when he said, don't let us don't let us allow them to have control over their future. And that's one of the effects of the divide and rule strategy that they're using.
Sorry, if I could add to what Madipe was saying, it's quite clear what you're saying. The example of Kwara is a typical example in the Middle Belt. One very large community of people at the Bagi community, the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja, it's actually sited in the indigenous land of the Bagi community. Number one, the Caliphate have done is to split them into different states. They're in Kaduna, they're in the Federal Capital Territory, they're in Niger, they're in also Nasarawa. So they're not able, and they don't have any rights and their land have been taken. Just a typical example of what the divide and rule policy. So these people cannot come together to speak for the Margi community, for example. So they've completely been split into 4 or 5 states. And even the capital territory, which is the indigenous land, they have little or no say. They have never been able to be a minister of the capital territory or any form of control at all. They're aliens, they're strangers in the federal capital territory. They've been sent to the ferry of the federal capital territory. So this is a typical example. Also, in addition to what you said, if you look at in Kaduna State, for example, you know, the southern part of Kaduna State is actually, they're middle belters. They're actually more plateau.
Right.
But, you know, when the states were created, they make sure that that part, originally it was part of plateau, but that part was carved from plateau and attached to the Fulani rule.
Yes.
You know, up to today. So a community of people, about 66 tribes that have common, linguistic, common cultural affinity, are still being subservient to the caliphate, and so and then the local government downwards are, you know, quite fewer than if you go to the northern part of the same state.
Exactly.
And the development is skewed as well. There is hardly a single federal institution in the southern part of the same state. But if you go to Zaria, for example, which is the caliphate seat, they have all the federal institutions, the universities, the institutes of training, and so on. And if you go from the northern
military, a lot of
military, yes. So it's,
too.
But the southern part is completely been deprived. You can hardly have one single presence of the federal government, let alone the state. No industries, nothing. So this is part of that, and yet the southern part is the food basket. The intelligence, the professors, the doctors, the nurses, okay, the engineers are from the south, okay, but those who are ruling are from the north. So it's quite sad, and aside, it's divide and rule, and you know, and one other thing. Sorry, I'm gonna round up that. What they're doing now, at that point you talked about eliminating citizens and benefits and so on. As it today, what the governor of Kaduna State has done is to take away what we call citizenship right. You can't claim to be a citizen of Kaduna State. So anybody can come and be a citizen. And the main reason is to allow the Fulani.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Claim
absolutely. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, right?
Yes.
About the change that they want to make to Fulanize the whole of Nigeria, have Fulani colonies paid for by the federal government and the state governments. I mean, everything they do is paid for by the government, right? Everything is paid for. But this is really important information because I don't know if you guys have noticed a change in the reporting, where they now report that there's violence in Kaduna State without referring it to being Southern Kaduna. That change has already happened because we've been calling out the fact that Southern Kaduna is home to predominantly, you know, Christians, moderate Muslims, and those that have, you know, their traditional whatever. And that's the place where all of this is happening. It's not happening in northern Kaduna. So every time we talk about what's going on, it is important for the world to understand, right? Because they're trying to isolate everything, and the narrative is just ridiculous. We've talked about the Hoda Farmer nonsense. And then now they're trying to make it appear as if they were now trying to do the reporting to eliminate the mention of Southern Kaduna and just report Kaduna.
Kaduna, thank you.
That fake news, that disingenuous reporting I am seeing occurring in 2022. These are the things that when the international community is looking at it, they're not going to be able to tell the difference. They don't know these nuances. And so you guys bringing this out is highly important. And Dr. Kara, for instance, bringing up the fact that people are taken from where they naturally reside and put into a different state where they can come under the caliphate rule, where they have no representation, right? and where they feel alien,
yeah.
right? Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's going on. That's happening that happened in the Southwest. That's happening in the Middle Belt. You know, a lot, and that's kind of like the divide and conquer that is going on. And then we talked about, you know, on here we have the consolidation of power, and we're going to look at that when we talk about who is ruling. We'll take a look at how that power has been consolidated in Nigeria. Okay. And then reducing the resources. You mentioned that, Dr. Carey. Resources. You guys remember the outcry when the loan was taken and who got money from the loan, which is far north? Nothing really came to the Middle Belt. The Southwest get a tinsy little bit. Southwest, South got a tinsy bit. And the Southeast got zero. Nada, nothing. Okay. This is how what they're using to disenfranchise the people, to create poverty, to create a weakened indigenous people that will be easy for Boko Haram, ISIS, ISWAP, etc., to come against them. But we're here to remind our people that the giant of Russia came against the tiny fly of Ukraine. And the people's will, it was the people's will that is turning them back. Yes, they're destroying their place, but they are standing and defending their place. Danjuma spoke up. Rise up and defend your ancestry. Melafia rose up. Some pastors have risen up. And we are now seeing even the sheik, right? Remember the sheik that came, that was fired because he had the audacity to call out all the bad things that's going on with this Fulani-led government. And they fired him for being the imam. So our people need to understand that, yes, they can do this. Yes, we can do this. We can gain our independence. So let's move on to the preamble to the 1999 Constitution. And Stephen, do you want to talk to us about this? Because this is something that is very important, you know, because I'm sure everyone, you know, a lot of people now have heard about the end 1999 Constitution. And we want to, you know, just take a little bit of time to explain to them what the 1999 Constitution did to these nations, right? Because this is where it gets solidified. So Stephen, do you want to talk to us a bit about the preamble?
Thank you. Thank you. I had an opportunity this morning at another meeting when somebody was raised the question about including referendum in the Constitution. I had to come in and say, wait a minute, we are being deluded, confused about the use of the term Constitution when it comes to Nigeria. Yep. Nigeria never had a Constitution. A Constitution is a governing document that is developed by and approved by we the people. Okay. In the case of Nigeria, we the people was plastered on top of a military document.
Military Decree 24.
Military Decree number 24 by General Abdul Salam. And that's why the president of the Republic in 1999, Obasanjo, never saw the so-called Constitution. So the preamble to the Constitution, we the people, was falsely plastered on that military document, not as an accident, not or an afterthought, but intentionally to continue to foster the divide and rule doctrine that the colonial masters put in place to appease Ahmadu Bello and perpetuate Ahmadu Bello's Futajala Manifesto, which is to continue to suppress the indigenous people. So the only way out is to dismantle this so-called Constitution, because even though the preamble states that we the people, it is not we the people, it is they, under the backing of the colonial masters. It's the caliphate that stamped with the people on top of a repressive military document. And I was explaining this point also when they were saying, well, the Constitution didn't have a reference to a provision for referendum. I said it couldn't have a reference to referendum in it because it was not intended to give any rights. Under martial law, you don't have any rights. The military decides what right you have and what right you don't have. So because the so-called Constitution is actually a military decree, it does not grant you any right. It just imposes on you whatever it feels that you should have at a certain point in time. So the illusion of having a constitution should be taken completely out of our dictionary. It doesn't exist. And the sooner the people realize that, the better they're able to get up, to rise and fight to pull it down, and fight for our rights granted them as indigenous people of the land of the South. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I just add to that real quick?
Yes, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, because I highlighted the words.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I highlighted the words, right? I mean,
Okay.
You know, it's not even logical, right, to say any relationship is indivisible and insoluble. I mean, indivisible, sorry.
Indivisible,
You know, because even life itself, you cannot be in a relationship and say that it's indivisible, because you know what? Death will divide you. So forget about that. So what's like this? I mean, it's like, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know, you could tell that this is absolute fraud, you know, for a group of people that, you know, like different nations to come together and say, oh, you know what, we are together and we can never, ever, 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 never, ever.
But when was that agreement made? We had agreed in 1960, right?
That's what I'm saying. This is red flag.
In a union, right?
Red flag to say this is all a lie. It's a fraud. There's no way that two nations, I mean, even more than two nations will come together and say, we can never, ever, ever, ever be dissolved. That is not even possible. So right there, you know, in their fraudulent constitution, the words here are they're not even logical. So, you know, I just want to.
Right, but again, this is what we're trying to point out. What happened to the nations? This is what happened to the nations. This is the formalization of the dissolution of the nations, the regions, the autonomous regions. They forcibly, you know, force can be whether you do it without their consent or you use region.
I think you're muted.
The Midwestern region. Sorry, say that again. The Midwestern region, okay?
No, I wasn't hearing you, so I thought you were muted. But
oh, okay. So this is officially killing the nations, taking away their self-determination that all the people agreed to. That's the slide that you're looking at right here in this 1999 so-called constitution, but it's Military Decree 24. So at this point, in 1999, officially, they stole the sovereignty of nations, of the regions. And if you kind of scroll up a little bit, where it talks about promoting good government, which doesn't make any sense, right? Because in the Constitution, no, you're going too far. It doesn't make any sense because in the Constitution, they have so many areas where it talks about immunity, where it talks about all enforceability of citizens' rights, all enforceability of federal character. then how can you have good governance when you can't enforce, you can't make the elected officials do what they are sworn in to do? And it goes on to say the welfare of all persons in our country. It talks about freedom, equality, and justice, and consolidating the unity of our people. I haven't seen any consolidation of unity of our people going on. I have seen this unity being pushed very hard. The opposite is being pushed very hard, right? So this is what the 1999 Constitution, I'll let somebody else speak to, because this here is very loaded, okay? So Stephen, if you want to speak, Dr. Carey, if you guys want to talk about what the impact of this little section, what it actually means for the nation. Donald, if you want to take a crack. So guys, let's just talk through this, because this is very important for people to understand.
Unfortunately, for the indigenous people, and maybe albeit temporarily, fortunately for the greedy politicians, that constitution has been the disaster that's been the undoing of the illegal nation called Nigeria, which is one of the reasons why the nation, the union should have been disbanded, and should be disbanded forthwith, because all the guarantees of a valid constitution have been deprived of the indigenous people from the beginning of time. You, Jane, you mentioned something about freedom. Yeah, we knew about freedom on paper, the same way we knew about independence in paper, whereas for all intentional and practical purposes, we are not independent. Still under the indirect rule of the slave masters, using the children of the caliphate as a puppet, who in turn are using the greedy politicians of the alliance states as puppets. Now, essentially, what that has done, neither the caliphate itself nor the indigenous people have prospered. I mean, they may claim to be prospering, but not when they cannot sleep at night without the Boko Haram that they created coming to destroy them. We were the so-called constitution, for the sake of argument, use that term, supposed to guarantee good government. Now, if what we've seen since 1960, we were granted the so-called paper independence, is what you call good government. Now, I don't want to have anything to do with governance, period, good or bad, because it's been nothing but disaster to the indigenous community, or even to the world in general. Because wherever you go with the green passport, they say you're from Nigeria. They look the other way. So and that's why that so-called constitution is a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the legal union called Nigeria, and it's a disservice to the indigenous people of the South that are being bound by it unwillingly. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just waiting if somebody else wanted to chip in on this constitution and what it means. If not, we can move forward. And Gaza, did you want to speak a little bit on that so-called constitution and what it's doing to the nations?
Sorry. Yeah, I think what the previous speaker has just said really summarizes the issue. The constitution, like somebody rightly said, was imposed on us. Is not really reflecting what the country should be and what we should be operating with. And I think most of the leaders know that. It's just the will and the zeal for some of the leaders to be able to make Nigeria or just make the country better. That will and zeal is being superseded by selfish interest. That is why it's not as if they don't know what to do. It's not as if most Nigerians don't know the right thing to do. But the thing is, some of them feel that maybe covering it up, not addressing it, not talking about the flaws in the Constitution, which you've enumerated most of them here. They believe it's going to go away. And that has been the system which some of them have been operating with for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But things have changed. Times have changed. Information has changed. And some of these leaders are still operating on that level where they've been in the past 10, 20, 30 years ago. And that is the doom for the country. So until most of them know that things, Nigeria is kind of sitting on a keg of gunpowder, until they realize the changes that have come into the country, the changes going on every day, and the changes that appropriate information, facts have brought to the mindset of most Nigerians. I think we are really heading to a very dangerous area in the country. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is dangerous. We have seen the daily, right? It's now daily, and the question that I asked last week, as we were talking about, is that they attacked the train. Where's the farm? They attacked the airport in Kaduna. Hashtag, where's the farm? They attacked the roads. Where is the farm? They attacked churches. Where is the farm? Because this is supposed to be herder-farmer conflict. But where is the farm? And more importantly, where is the federal government who's getting intelligence from all of the international community about the movement of this people? And by the way, Shigami, right? Bauchi governor, Borno governor, Sokoto governor, all of them up there can walk into the forest directly to where these people are to negotiate. But the federal government cannot find them to flush them out. The federal government cannot issue a rule that these Fulani from Mauritania and Mali, etc., as our President Buhari, who is Fulani, said, he cannot issue a rule against foreigners who are carrying deadly weapons. So who is he looking out the interest? Because this is the welfare of all persons. I haven't seen the welfare that is going to the indigenous people. I see the welfare of the criminal element, the criminal Fulani element that's coming in from Mali, Mauritania, Niger, everywhere that they're calling them to come from. They're the ones that have been taken care of with Ruga to give them free ranches, 80% financed by the government, 20% financed by the state government. That's what we have. So let's move on to talk about, well, who is indigenous to Nigeria? Let's talk about that a little bit. And Ogarako, if you want to talk to us about that as to who is indigenous to Nigeria. And I think I also have, a list that gives a long list of them, but this is just to talk about just a few of the indigenous tribes that are in Nigeria so that people are clear as to who owns the land. Because if you scroll up a little bit, Matupe, there is a false narrative. Scroll up a little bit more. There's a false narrative going on saying that Fulani are indigenous and they've actually placed them in certain states. I'm gonna find that online where it places them in certain states. So Ogarako, please help us with who are indigenous Nigerians. If you can scroll down for him so he can see from the top, that would be great.
Yeah, you can, okay, all right. Come down a little, okay. All right, gentlemen and ladies, I'm sometimes talking about Nigeria and its predicament is always a nightmare. It causes a lot of emotional stress, and cultural disturbances. Nature made men. Every culture, every environment has a way by creation God placed them in a given place. And in area called Nigeria today, there are people who naturally are found there. Their ancestors, they have their histories of how they had their way from their God to such a space, to such land. And they are attached to such land and has a culture to defend such environment. Unfortunately, there are what is called the wandering people too, either where they are aboard are not comfortable with them. Sometimes they try to look for places to join. Some other people goes by invasion, which is maybe the circumstances we have in the case of this area, not just Nigeria. We are told that these people called Fulanis are the black Arabs who are driven away from mostly the northern part, and they sent into the desert. And from there, they started looking for environments. We were told stories of how these people came to area today called Sokoto and asked for a space. And they were given, unfortunately, they turned against the people and turned against even their culture, and that's what we have today. However, there are people who are found in every area of Nigeria, mostly in the southwest, what we call the Yoruba, is known mostly the Yorubas. In the southeast and good part of south are people of Igbo origin. The north proper was mostly of the Hausa origin. The Jaws are part of the people that can be found in the south, what we call south is a political name. However, that was the southeastern Nigeria then.
Yes.
The Biron is found in the middle belt. They are in the, I think, in the Benue State. The Tiv are in the Benue State, what we call the middle, one of the states in the middle belt. The Galas, I think, in Lokoja in Kogi State. Efik is Calabar, part of what we call today South. Calabar is Calabari is as well in I think in Cross River State. We have the Guzu in the middle belt, I think Plateau, that should be. Ibibian is Akwa Ibom, what we call Akwa Ibom State today. Ishakiri can be found in Delta State or some part of Edo State. And then Jukun people is in the middle belt, Owan in the south, Owe in the south, Tangale in the middle belt, Robo is supposed to be in the Niger Delta with the Edo State, and Abo is in the Delta State. And we were told that we have 240 ethnic groups and languages in Nigeria. That simply means even within these, there are some other ones that are not mentioned. These are the people who are originally of the land. The name Fulani is never mentioned here. And anywhere you hear the word Fulani in Nigeria, it will always be Hausa Fulani, or that Fulani, or that Fulani. That one that they claim to be in every state. Then you have Fulani of this or Fulani of that. Why is it that there's no place that is called Fulani of origin? And how come? And how come these people who cannot have origin in Nigeria are the people now championing almost everything in Nigeria? From finance, from the source of finance to source of spending, from security to every politics. This is a question everybody who has a conscience should ask him or herself. My still question goes, how come all these things have been going on? And a nation that is time to be 50-50% of Christian and Muslim had such a silent engagement, and some other people are using either their intelligence, as the case may be. How long will we get divided and then people use us? Okay. I know too, invaders always have their targets and the strategies, but how much can we be fooled to be used a big country, Nigeria, with all the resources we have, with all the intelligence we claim to have. Exactly. It's very unfortunate, really very unfortunate and appalling. I stop so far.
Okay, Queen, you want to give us some pointers on the tribes, on the ethnic tribes in Nigeria, those who are indigenous. Go ahead. Queen, you need to unmute. Queen, you need to unmute. You need to unmute.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, I'm just curious about all this talking as in we knew that Nigeria is already expired. So why can't we just declare our own nation? Why can't we just do what we have to do? Do we have to take a permission from who? Who are we waiting for? Once the country is dead, it's expired. So why can't we just do what we gotta do? Declare our own nation. That's just the question I'm asking myself, and I want you guys to, I want to ask you so maybe somebody can tell me. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm assuming that when you're talking about the nation has expired, you're referring to the amalgamation document of 1914, is what I'm, right. But since then, things have changed. We do have, we had the military rule. We had the fraudulent 1999 Constitution, which supposedly calls us all now one, which is what we talked about in the preamble. We are one. Indivisible, indissoluble, right? Which is not the case, and that's where the problem lies. But your question is germane, and I know that we're all asking the question. Well, let's just declare our areas and go. Well, that's what the referendum is meant to do. Okay, because in the civilized society today, even when the USSR was being divided, they went to a referendum. And a referendum, a lot of people are afraid of a referendum, but the referendum is very simple. It's yes or no. Do you want to continue to be in the USSR? Was their question. Yes, no. No's carried the day. And so it was dissolved. And that's what we are working towards in Nigeria, is to get to that referendum. Do you want to be in unitary Nigeria? Yes or no? And that way, the indigenous nations can lay claim to their nations and start moving away. That's what that referendum is for, Queen Bee. That's what we are working towards. We're all working towards. Okay.
Can I piggyback on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So Queen Bee, yes. You said, well, why don't we just declare our nation? And then remember that, okay, who is going to do the declaration? And then where would that person say that they got the mandate from? So again, power resides in the people. So what Jean said about the referendum is to get the people to say, yes, we are with you. We want to be out of here. We want to be out of this, this hole, right? We need to get out. And that's why they're collecting all those signatures to say, we are speaking for the people. The people said this is what they want, and it's going to be that way. So that's the reason why we can't just willy-nilly, get up and say, we are now a nation. I mean, we are, and declare a nation without having something, to back it up, to say we have the will of the people. Just like they don't have the will of the people, their constitution is fraudulent. The people couldn't have written that fraudulent document. So, and we want to prove that to them, that we have the actual will of the people, and with the people resides power.
Absolutely. Somebody wait.
Thanks, Dr. Jean.
Sorry?
I wanted to say something. You go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jean and Dr. Dukwe, for expansion on that, and especially Jean for bringing in the issue of a referendum, because in certain alliance territories, there's actually some confusion, albeit illegally injected, between a referendum and restructuring. I don't know. I always thought the differences are as clear as day. In direct answer to Queen B's question, we will eventually declare a republic.
Yes.
But we are taking the diplomatic channels right now. In other words, like I think it was Dr. Duka that mentioned that whoever fires the first bullet loses. You know, we don't want to be the first to fire the first bullet, and we will defend ourselves. And I'm not the one saying this. This is exactly what the alliance community is saying now, that we will and we are ready to defend ourselves.
Absolutely.
There was a video that came out 1 or 2 days ago, angrily, albeit by Governor Autumn of Benue Plateau State.
Maduba, do you have that video? We can show that video. Yeah.
Imploring its citizens to rise up and defend themselves. I mean, he said it so affirmatively, to the extent that if you cannot defend yourself and you need help on how to defend yourself, reach out to me and let me know how I can help. That's what the governor said. So essentially, what that means is that we know that the union called Nigeria expired in 2014. We know that the union is invalid by virtue of the falsity of the Constitution, which is actually a military document that was stamped. I was going to say earlier on that what we call the Nigerian Constitution is actually a chicken that wears a white robe and calls itself a pigeon. It is still an underachiever with the white robe on. It's not. It can't fly, and that's exactly what we call the Nigerian Constitution. We know it's a falsity. It is invalid. So on the strength of all those two premises, we are in a position now to declare our own republic. In other words, all the alliance indigenous tribes of the South. We are well positioned to declare our our republics. But there is a Yoruba proverb that says a child never questions the death that kills his father unless he has a firm grip of the machete. Okay, whether
I can use it.
Yes, whether it is diplomatically or otherwise, we are getting a good grip of the machete right now. Once we hold it firmly, we will declare a republic. One of the first things we did to get a grip of machete was the constitution for force majeure by Ninas. Then within the Yoruba Alliance, the Yoruba Nation Global Directorate filed a petition with the Community Court of Justice, aka the ECOWAS Court, repudiating the 1999 Constitution. Those two tools, once we get it, in addition to that, even though I have no more strength, one of the alliance groups, Yoruba groups, also filed a suit in an Osun State Court to repudiate the Constitution and invalidate the upcoming elections. All those diplomatic tools taken together, once they come into place.
Too, Mr. Felix, and also in Ekiti as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Ekiti, yes.
Thank you, man. All those tools put together, when they come into place, gives us a firm grip of the machete, so that we, the people, can say we are on our own. By which time our leader will have a firm leadership, not just in Yoruba Nation, but all the alliance members. And all it takes is one or two of us to say we're going, and everyone follows. I've been saying this privately, but I can say publicly now that you will notice that history was stamped out of the curriculum years ago. There is an old saying that the nation that forgets its history is likely to repeat the mistakes of the past. Well, those of us that are in the agitation now, we didn't forget our history. And that's why that's why we're cooperating with all the alliance members now, so that we don't repeat the mistakes of 1966, if you know what I mean. Yes.
Amen.
So we know now that if our brothers on the East say we're going, then we're telling them we're coming with you.
Yes.
And if we say we are going, in the Yoruba Alliance say we are going, our brothers and sisters in the South will say, oh, we are coming with you. And then they can take all their billion-dollar weapons and try to wipe out all of us. We'll see that blood floating on the northern deserts from Abuja all the way to Niger. Thank you much.
Amen.
Okay.
And that's why we're doing this.
Let's listen to all of them. Yeah. Because we need to educate our people, and we need to be
exactly.
We come at it from a lot of different angles, but the message is clear. You need to know who you are and what's being done to you and who's doing it to you. Okay,
and why you must leave the union.
Yes.
Because it's not a union.
Absolutely.
Expect that very soon some states will be taken over by these Fulani men called bandits. I suspect that very soon the presidential villa will be handed over to them. This is a plan. Nobody should deceive me. I am more than 60 years. Nobody should deceive me that it's just bandits are just coming here and making this thing. It is a plan to hand over to these Fulani men who are called bandits so that there will be no election. This federal government, not that it is insensitive, is working towards an agenda that they have planned to Fulanize this country and take over. It's not even about Islam. They are using religion as a shield to Fulanize. And this is not right.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, do you have the video of the Fulanization, the one that I think is Sokapo? I mean, it's important for us to keep showing that because—
Which one is that? Which one?
The one, it says a Fulanization agenda to change the demographics. The one with Sokapo. Yeah. You know, we can get to that. We can.
Yeah. If I know the specifics, I mean the specific one, I will, because I have a couple of them up.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, what he's talking about is that, you know, there is a merging of objectives, right? So you've got the Fulani, and if you can't find that, but just go to the Ruga. So like because the Ruga actually calls out the Fulanization. It calls it out clearly, right?
So is it
Bala Mohammed?
Bala Mohammed, okay, good.
Dripping with honey when he's talking about pasteurization. How does pasteurization end up in all Fulani in Africa getting citizenship in Nigeria? Please help me, right? So let's see that, because he calls it out. Because he said clearly, this was a message he was sending out to all Fulani, that they're trying to get them gathered all on one land. And that land is Nigeria. So Nigerian, indigenous Nigerians, wake up. Bala Mohammed issued that in 2019, calling all Fulani to come and congregate in Nigeria and be handed Nigerian citizenship, be given ranches for free, land for free, and everything else for free. That was the call to Fulanization, and he said it clearly, except that he put it behind pasteurization. Don't we have enough pasteurized? Don't we have enough herders in Nigeria? How much cow can we eat from these foreigners? How much cow exactly can we eat? And now it's not just that we're eating the cows are eating us. The situation. The cows are eating indigenous Nigerians now. So let's listen to this very disingenuous talk, but it is the call. This is the Fulanization call right here.
In the very nice program could be assuaged, and of course we will participate in a manner that will bring the best in terms of global best practice. We are engaging the Netherlands and other countries to come and help us do this in a manner that at least it will boost our economy. We have so many reserves land, and we have so many forests that are not being used. Some of them are even being used by criminals, hooligans, and charlatans, where some aspect of criminality has been provided by that forest that is called Lamebora Forest and the Yankari precincts. So outside the agitation or advocacy of the environmentalists and those that are more concerned with the fauna and flora, we will be able to provide a salutary effect to the country, because we have over 3,000 square kilometers of land that is in the savanna, in a lush vegetation that can be used for this kind of program, even to serve the nation. And while we are doing it as the federal government has conceived it, we want it to be private sector driven, and we will bring those who are more familiar with it.
Okay, if you say, because I mean, everybody, we want to see that these killings end and there's peace, and then people go about their businesses peacefully. Everybody wants to see that. But when you say that you want it to be private sector led, we understand that the government is going to provide 80% of the funding, the state to provide 20%, and then provide the land.
Yeah.
How is that going to be private sector led?
The government have not released any cover for that purpose up to this moment, but we don't know, since we have not been admitted into the program. But certainly we have been working very hard to see that because our people are mostly transhumans, and that we have this vision to create an economic nucleus around livestock. And of course, with all the value chain that we can get around livestock, the blood, the horn, the skin, and of course, we will try more to cultivate that culture in our people, while at the same time bringing the Fulanis in one fold and try to arrest their traditional practice of moving from one place to the other.
I'm sorry?
Stop right there. Stop right there. I'm just gonna go back, and because I want everyone to hear what he said, what they're doing to the Fulani. Just go back a little bit and let's hear him again, what he said. Just a few seconds.
An economic nucleus around livestock. And of course, with all the value chain that we can get around livestock, the blood, the horn, the skin, and of course, we will try more to cultivate that culture in our people, while at the same time bringing the Fulanis in one fold and try to arrest their traditional practice of moving from one place to the other. And that is very big, an uphill.
Okay, you guys heard it.
Yeah. Bring them.
And there's more, but I just wanted to stop just so that everyone can understand what he is saying. They want to stop them from moving. They don't have any land, but they want to take the lush savanna in the middle belt of the South and give government paying 80%, state paying 20%. That's 100%. Then they give them the land. What farmers have gotten this? What Yoruba herders have gotten this? What Igbo herders, there are Igbo herders who herd Igbo cows. What have they gotten? This is all for Fulani.
Jane?
This is all for Fulani. Yeah, I want to continue. I want to kind of go step by step, just so that people understand what this call is, right? That's what this call is. Go ahead, Stephen. We can kind of move on.
Doc, please give me 2 seconds so I can throw in a comment that I wanted to make when I think it was Dr. Carey that was talking about who are the indigenous people, and he traced the history of the Fulanis outside of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Yes. Historically, I know he mentioned that they are the Black Arab that was kicked out of the Middle East and wandered through the desert. Yes. When I was in school, way back in the early 1700s, we read history called a 1,000 Years of West African History.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we trace the history of the Fulanis as descendants of the Black Arabs from the Futajalon Mountains of Guinea.
Exactly.
They are a nomadic tribe non-religious, a secular tribe that wandered from desert to desert. And you could hear this guy alluding to that they want to move them away from the wandering tribe.
And now, congregate them in Nigeria.
Exactly. Now, people over the centuries have perpetrated atrocities for different ideological reasons, whether economic, religious, or political. The Fulanis have no ideologies other than a conqueror mentality. So much so that they claim that God is the owner of the land. So wherever, and because they are God's children, wherever they stop and settle is their own. And that is the mentality that is driving each and every action that they've done. It only so happens that since they've been wandering over their 1,000 years, they finally get to a place that is flowing with so much milk and honey called Nigeria that they didn't have to move further.
West Africa, actually, because they are doing all of this in all of West Africa.
Yes, there was no Fulani in Nigerian history, in northern
the 1700s,
history,
yes.
In the 1800s, until the 1800s. Yes, when Ottoman Danfonio came and invaded. So to be calling themselves Hausa Fulani, they have systematically used religion, which they don't even practice, to divide and conquer. And that's what they continue to do now. So it's important to remember that history. They never belong to Nigeria. They don't belong to Nigeria. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, I want to show something that, let me show this and then we can move on. I do want to share my screen to show where they have placed themselves now. Here are the major tribes, and we're gonna go down to the F, and you will see what's gonna pop up and where they say that they originate from. Number 119, Fulani, Polbi. They're from Bauchi, Borno, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kanu, Katsina, Kebbi, Niger, Sokoto, Taraba, Yobe, etc. The etc. is to be determined because they also want to be from Bayelsa, from Osun, Ekiti, Abia, Imo, Enugu, Anambra, Benue, right? They want to be from all those places. Now they have put themselves in this list. Tribes in Nigeria, they put themselves in this list as if they originate from here and they're migrants. And everybody wonders why that's important. It is important to understand because the mentality in Africa is a little bit different. Land in Africa is handled differently. In West Africa, in South Africa, we handle land differently. There's no land that is not owned by someone. So Bala Muhammad is saying that we have all this free lush. Did you see him dripping with lush? Now they're going to use government money to get their people, their criminal element, according to Buhari, because Buhari said that these are criminal elements, right? And give them the money, and they would benefit from.
Can you go back to that? Because I want to add to something. I mean, something that just stood out, from the display. Okay, if you notice that every other tribe, if you scroll back up to the beginning and then we come back to 119, I want us to notice something. Okay, all right, go all the way up.
Yeah,
all the way up. As we're scrolling, is there any tribe that has maybe like more than 2 or 3 states, right? I mean, because it's like, because I do focus a lot on data, Yeah. So if you now go back to 119, you can see that that's the only tribe that has more than that.
Only tribe that does not come from Nigeria has more states than
11, like they are found in 11 and still counting.
Yes.
It's in
because
so
Bielsa, because
everywhere.
He mentioned Bielsa, right?
Yes.
That's one of the states they want to
again,
take
it's to fit a narrative.
Yeah.
It is to fit a narrative, and that's the reason why they have that. I just wanted to,
I'm gonna stop sharing. Let's get to the heart of what we're talking about. Let's talk about it, but let's talk about who is ruling. Who is ruling? Because everything that we've talked about is actually saying that the indigenous nations did not attain independence. They had kind of like a false sense of independence between 1960 and 1966, but any form of that has been erased, and that constitution solidified the fact that they just killed those nations. So who is ruling Nigeria?
Well, if you look at the things I mean, the way you have it in order, I don't think it's in order. So you probably want to have British.
It's not in any
British
order.
Okay, all right, that's fine. But again,
the reason I put it that way is because we have a Fulani president, and then we're going to take a look at the next few slides that show where, because when you look at who is actually sitting in those seats, it's not the British. The British are behind them, and sometimes in front of them, beside them, over them, whatever. But if you look at who's sitting in the seats in Nigeria, they're from Fulani, right? So just gonna go up talking about the Fulani, the British, foreign corporations. For the longest time, Shell and Exxon, etc., exerted such influence in Nigeria, right? Then we had the first world countries because there's resources. And then we have this white-black thing that is going on, right? With the things that happen in the Black environment, in the colored environment, it's not really taken seriously enough, right? It's not taken seriously, let them kill themselves or whatever, right? And then we have monopolies. We talked about the Dangote monopoly. And I sent you guys a lot of information about that, right? And you will see that the Dangote monopoly is not Dangote, it's Dangote and the Fulani government. And they have given him all kinds of breaks, tax breaks, any break that is needed. So when they say in the video that Akintoye, when he was reading the letter, they say they have the money. They do have the money. He is the richest person in Africa, and he is Fulani. And the Fulani government has given him all this money and all this monopoly. So let's be clear that monopoly is a way that they're using to rule Nigeria with cement, with sugar, with rice. He's got, he's going to get a refinery. The South that owns the oil cannot have their own refinery, but Dangote gets one. Kaduna gets one. Even Niger Republic gets one, but there's none in Imo or anywhere where the oil actually originates from.
In spite of the fact that they promised, part of their election campaign promises, I mean, they had the promises, but one of those promises was that they were going to build a refinery once every year, something bizarre like that.
Absolutely.
So, and it's been 7 years. So how many refineries
have they built? I can't remember the figures of how much they have spent rebuilding the refinery in the South, and not one single penny has gone into that refinery. Not a single penny has gone into it. But they have taken they've taken like billions and billions and billions supposedly to rebuild it. So let's move on. There's corruption, of course, and we have the complicit, the stooges, the complicit indigenous people, because guys, the political class is not working for the people, and I can say that clearly because when you have 100 million people fallen into poverty under this Fulani-led government, and we know that more than 80% of the money coming out of Nigeria is going to politicians. The politicians are the problem. Why haven't they given back 90-80% of their money so their people can be lifted out of poverty? I want to know that. Well, actually, indigenous people, and these people are mainly politicians. We've shown you guys the news. Nigerian politicians are eating the fat of the land. They're eating it up. They're gobbling it up, taking it from the kids. And I wish I had that that article that shows what it talked about Dangote, right? And it's monopolies. Let me see if I can find one, because it's important for us to know how we are being ruled. Okay, because a lot of people are there saying, oh, Dangote made all this money. Well, it's not Dangote that made all the money. It is the Fulani-led government that has consistently, okay, I'm just going to show this one. I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to show it so that we can see what the article has to say. These are not my words. This is somebody else's words, but very apt. What does it say here? The wicked monopoly of Africa's richest man. The wicked monopoly. And we can say that about our politicians. The wicked politicians who are eating while children are dying of hunger. They are living beyond a first world lifestyle. They are living beyond the politicians in the richest countries in the world and have plunged over 52% of their people into abject poverty. So let's know who is doing this to us, okay? Okay, so moving on, Matupe, where are we going?
Yeah, I thought Mr. Faleti wanted to chime in. I think he wanted to say something.
Thank you, Dr. Dupe. I just wanted to make a quick point when you mentioned Dangote. It wasn't until recently when we embarked on this agitation that I realized that Dangote did not become a global billionaire because of his business genius. No, he's not that cognitively apt to amass all that wealth. It's just another economic instrumentality being used by the Fulanis to oppress us and divide and conquer. Well, we've talked about this earlier on, and I mentioned that the three tools that political leaders have used over the years: economic, religion, and politics.
Yep.
They came in initially using religion to divide and conquer and oppress us.
Yeah.
They became Hausa Fulani.
Yes.
We bought into that. They tried over the years unsuccessfully to use that to divide us in the South. Yeah. We acquiesced a little bit, but we never gave in completely. I mean, otherwise, this agitation would not be here today. Now, they've systematically infiltrated the political landscape and used that to divide and conquer us, because now they've held all our Southern politicians in their vice grip.
Oh, yeah.
That they can't even see that they are under oppression. So now it's becoming clear that they have used and they are using Dangote as an economic tool to divide and conquer us by giving him monopoly on all licenses of major commodities and infrastructure.
Yes.
They can separate the rich from the poor and keep the poor of the South
100 million in poverty.
Exactly.
Yes. And if you want to go down a little bit, that's something else that's down there too, on this slide. Okay. So who is ruling? Because this is kind of key to one of the things that we're talking about. And thank you, Stephen. That is so key. Because when you take away Benue Cement that was providing revenue and resources to the area, and the other in Calago Cement, et cetera, that is revitalizing the area, you're killing the area, because now all of a sudden it does two things. That source of revenue goes away, and we have seen what this evil man has done. And yes, you are evil, sir. I'm sorry, but you have raised the prices of cement, rice, and everything else in Nigeria to astronomical levels. And so that you can have billions while 100 million, over 100 million people are dying. They're dying because they don't have the job. because you took the monopoly and you have raised prices on those same people, quadrupled amounts, while selling these same products at lower cost outside of Nigeria. Who does that? Who does that? So who is ruling Nigeria? Let's run through these slides because it, you know, Stephen, you talked about the Hausa Fulani Igbo narrative, right? Because everyone, yes, you know, they put the Hausa and then they slit themselves behind, right?
Exactly.
And you know, guys, it's important for the people, for our people to know that Fulanese are not from Nigeria. It is very important, okay? Because in the Western world, things are different. Land is different. Everything is just kind of, you know, everything is fluid. That's not the case in Africa. It does not work like that, right? And so that's why they came under the guise of the House of Fulani. So, but let's look at the major earning sectors, and anybody can go through this. Paul, if you want to talk through it, that's fine. Madupe, Donald. Let's just see who is ruling Nigeria. Let's see who's the face. And this is without names. We're just doing the ethnic, you know, the ethnic nationality.
Yeah. So basically, these are the list of the main sectors, earning sectors in Nigeria, and then who heads them. So NNPC, we know that's where the oil is, right? Oil is a huge money generating, money generating commodity or, item in Nigeria. And even right now in the world, with the Russian-Ukrainian war, it's like the Nigeria's oil is even more in demand, right? Or oil is even more in demand now. So can you imagine how much money, we're generating, but the people are not feeling that, because what happens is that whoever is leading, and we know who is heading, these parastatals or these organizations, they are all Fulanese. So all the money is not going to the people, the indigenes, whose land they're getting the oil from. They are not benefiting from those resources. But the Fulanis, who are not indigenous to the land, are the ones that are looting and just stealing this money, in the millions and billions. So it's so pathetic just to think about.
Let's talk about LNC gas, Madupe. LNC gas is needed around the world. Yes. They are working feverishly. They put pipelines to pipeline Juna. And then they were planning pipelines to take it to Mauritania, up to North Africa too.
And even to Europe, and even all the way to Europe too.
Absolutely. And remember how we talked about who's ruling Nigeria when we talked about the wars?
Yes.
Yeah, with the war going on.
Yep.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, the U.S. is approving $1 billion arms sale to Nigeria. What do they want? Resources, right?
Well, Jane, please, can you repeat that again?
I was saying, I think we showed that earlier, that with the dependence of Europe on Russian oil, all of a sudden, the U.S. has now approved $1 billion sale of arms, ARMS, to kill people. And we know, since they're not using it against the bandits, you know who's going to get against. Okay, so they've approved it now. So what are they going to get in return? What do you think they're going to get in return?
Oil.
So guys, what we have is a complex situation where the Western world continually does things that does not benefit the indigenous people. That's how they're ruling over us, okay? Because all of a sudden, this is happening, and who's going to suffer for it? More people are going to be killed.
We need to have a discussion. We need to have a separate discussion about that.
Yes.
We do. We really do.
So let's keep going. But that's what's going on, guys. So we're kind of trying to tie all of this together. And everything that we're talking about is facts. We're just bringing the facts together so people can see it more clearly. So let's go to the next slide.
So actually, and I want to say NPA, Nigerian Port Authority, we know how much money, huge funds that are coming from the ports, right? we have, we have the seaports, the airports, those ports, they like a source of, they generate a lot of money. So, and who heads them?
Or before we go off, I'm glad you said that. What about ownership of oil wells? And we're going to talk about it later. We have a few slides that we can kind of run through.
Okay.
We're going to talk about how they're doing that.
So then we have major spenders and ethnic national heading them. Okay. So defense.
Just go through it really quick.
How can we, so how can we talk about, arresting insecurity? When these people are the ones who have imported or are still importing foreign Fulanis to come and, to come and invade the land and kill the people. And again, they are the ones that are in charge of defense. So come on now, the $1 billion, arms that you're talking about is going to them, and they are the ones that are in control, right? So what do you think they're gonna do? So again, it tells us. I mean, we don't even need to say much. Then finance, of course, everything. There's nothing that you can do. I mean, that you can do without, without finance, without money. And so who's in control again? Them.
Justice.
Even education, right? But
let's just go to the highlighted ones. People.
So justice, of course. They are the ones who will interpret to you what corruption is. Meanwhile, they are the ones that are perpetrating, corruption, but they will tell you this is corruption. They will go after the Yahoo boys I'm not saying the Yahoo boys are doing anything good or whatever, but then they will spend time go after the Yahoo boys. Who are doing like maybe frauds of something like, millions or whatever, a few millions. And then they will not speak about those of them who are stealing billions. And I'm not talking about billions of naira, billions of dollars, right? So those ones are not, to them, those ones don't fit, they don't fit into their definition of corruption. So, and then the Justice Department also, under we know the Fulani guy, the Malami, is like, those who are asking for self-determination are the criminals. And those who, according to them, right? And then those who are killing people, the terrorists are bandits. They are not doing anything bad. They are doing business. Remember the governor of Kaduna State said that.
I'm sharing it now.
Yeah, he said those bandits are just doing business.
You can read it. It's reading that over here.
Are the criminals. So they criminalize what are not criminal, offenses, and then things that are criminal, acts are now being, treated with kid gloves, like they are like, they pamper them and they treat them with,
This is from El Rufai.
Exactly.
There's bandits, terrorists, different from IPOB. Do you know how? He said that agitating for your self-determination is worse than killing, stealing, maiming, kidnapping, and bombing. That's what he said. Agitating for self-determination is worse, because he said over here, El Rufai stated that bandits are not calling for the breakup of Nigeria, but are just carrying out their activities as a form of business.
Wow.
This is from a governor in a state that they're trying to wipe out the people in southern Kaduna. This is what he had to say. So how is he now going to be stopping this business people? He's not. As Dr. Kerry said, they carry out operations for 2 hours. Where is El Rufai? He's letting them carry out their business. Kidnappers, business. Bandits, business. Terrorists, business. Fulani herdsmen, business.
Self-agitation.
Who's dying?
Exactly.
Indigenous Nigerians.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to share that so people will know that we're not making these things up. We cannot make these things up. We honestly can't. And we don't.
Okay, so then police affairs, of course, the Fulanis that will the Fulanis that will go and wander into people's farmlands and kill the farmers and rape their wives and whatever. If they got caught and they are taken and they are handed over to the police will turn around and send the the victims, send them to jail, and then release the Fulani,
and give them back their guns.
Yeah, and give them back their guns, and then they'll and then if you ask why, oh, we got orders from above,
Abuja.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So where's the above coming from? Of course, from the Fulani guy.
Fulani, yeah.
Yes. So,
aviation, Fulani. Communication, Fulani. Power, Fulani.
Communication. If I may say something.
That's very important, isn't it?
Yes. I was actually watching a video of a guy that was kidnapped, and he said that right there that they took their phones, right? That whoever whoever called their phones, that they would trace the person. They know who the person is, where they call him from, because they will give the name. They will call their own contact, because they have contact in within the Nigerian, bigger communication system. And they will give them the information.
Collude with these bandits, says T.Y. Danjuma.
Exactly. So basically the communication, minister or whoever is is over communication is actually, they're working together with the bandits or the terrorists, because they are one and the same anyway. So
power, Fulani.
And that's why we cannot get, electricity that is not, that is consistent. So it's not even possible. All right, so water resources, we don't even have, pipe-borne water. I mean, it's like, it's almost like it's non-existent in any of the states in Nigeria. People are using boreholes, they're digging their own boreholes, and finding ways to create, water systems.
Yeah, and destabilizing the environment. All those boreholes are destabilizing the environment.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Then humanitarian affairs, them too. Humanitarian affairs. Talk about that.
Aid. Remember all the aid that's coming in. We'll talk about that.
I know.
Aid that's coming to Nigeria.
Speaking of humanitarian affairs, people in the IDP camps are living in deplorable conditions. But then repentant terrorists are living in affluence. So. Yes. So talk about humanitarian affairs all you want, right?
Yes.
It's a joke. It's just a joke, right? Yes. So farmer, I don't know what that, but
that is a disaster response.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you again. The guy who was kidnapped, he said something in that video clip. He said, if you are kidnapped in Nigeria, you're on your own. He said that they could not even get he said before they actually got stopped by the Fulani terrorists, that they just passed a military checkpoint, like maybe it wasn't even like a minute or two, drive away from the checkpoint, when they got the kidnappers or the terrorists. One car just crossed in front of him, and then by the time he was trying to back, to kind of put his car in reverse, two other cars came from the bush and just kind of ambush him right there. So he said that he was even wondering that, what about the checkpoint that we just saw? And he was trying to say, can we get help from, to see if they can actually. He said none of them. I mean, they did not get any help at all, and the checkpoint was still within a distance that they could hear all of the, all of the kidnapping and the activities of this, of these people who kind of trapped them. They could hear those, right? I mean, no matter, he said they were within the distance where they could hear everything that was going on, and he was hoping that they would rush to their assistance. No, he said no at all, and he said they walked from like 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. continuously. So again, speak about disaster, recovery. It's not even going to happen because they don't have it. What they have set up is to aid they are criminals, right? You know, they are bandits, they're terrorists. So if you think that they're going to come to your aid, think twice. And that's why we're telling our people we need to be ready to protect ourselves. That's just, I mean, what Danjuma said that, and this, and
Autumn has said that, Lafi has said that, pastors are now saying
you
that.
have to figure out a way to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we were saying in one of the meetings that I was earlier today, they said you need to buy a whistle. Everyone in your neighborhood should have a whistle, so that an attack on one, once you blow the whistle, everybody knows that, hey, they are here. But again, you need to be ready to defend yourself. Do not rely on the government, because the government, they are part and parcel of the criminal, you know, activity that is going on. You know, they're aiding the terrorists. So be warned and just be alert. But again, I just want to put this in, that, you know, your resolve and us doing this in unison, they cannot, it's not possible. We will come back and get, you know, and reverse the situation. So again, do not lose hope, but we have to, you know, be ready to work together. And this education is necessary. It's very, very necessary, so that we know why we're doing what we're doing, to say we will not give up our land. We will not give up our land, and we are not going to give up our land. So so moving right on, anti-corruption.
Yeah, the NTA, television.
News agency, yeah.
Television, radio.
All gagged too. They are all gagged right now. All of the news outlets, they are all gagged, which means they cannot speak. They tell them, you know, they cannot report, you know, any of the terrorist, you know, activities. They will tell them to underreport the numbers of people that are dead.
Yes.
You know,
We have
they
seen
don't
that.
want them to even cover anything at all. And then they want to kind of, you know, to trivialize some of the things that are, you know, that are going on as well, to make it look like, you know, for example, that the farmer herders, you know, narrative. They want them to continue to push
to say that, right?
Say that, so that it looks like, oh, everything is all well. And they also want to deceive the people. Oh, we have everything under control. Don't worry. Oh, we got this. They are lying. They
always say that.
Yes, they are lying to you. Nothing is under control. No. They are the ones that are doing all of these things. So it's not possible for them to have it under control, because they don't want it to be under control. So the sooner we know that, the better for us. Then FAAN, can you tell me what that stands for fully? Federal.
Federal Airways Administration of Nigeria.
That's the authority that controls the airports.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. And we know how much money, yes. You see?
That's it, pretty much. We're surrounded, guys. That's what this tells you.
Money and power, that's it.
Defense, Fulani. Police, Fulani, right?
Yes, everything. Look at it. EFCC. We just talked about EFCC.
Corruption, Fulani.
Corruption. Oh, they're going after Yahoo boys, but then they are ignoring all of these people, you know. I mean, there was actually a list recently of the, you know, of Nigerians who have huge amounts of money in US banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wari is one of them. His wife is one of them. His daughter is one of them.
And a long list of his family members.
Billions. We're not even talking about millions, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Dollars. You know, so how come EFCC, you know, is yet to invite them? How come they've not invited those people and say, hey, we need to find out, how did you get all of this money?
Yeah, let's find out how Buhari got his money.
I know.
Well, it's 334 million naira for him to travel internally. It's 345 million naira for him to travel overseas on his personal health. Because he said it was personal, right? So then why does he need 245? It is, how much again are they giving for his for the clinic in Aso Rock? It's some like 100+ million for clinic in Aso Rock. Same amount as they're giving for all of Nigeria.
But you know what? A clinic that he does not use for
I know, because he keeps going.
Right? Because he flies to England for his routine health checks,
supposedly
right?
with his own personal. So then why does he need 345 million?
Wow.
Okay, so how are they ruling?
Those are relevant questions that we already know. I mean, we know the answers to that, but we just think that our people should know. They should be in the know and be, you know, and really be aware, you know, about be aware of all of the evils that are going on, and they need to be sensitized to the fact that things are not going to get better. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I wanted to mention when you mentioned NNPC as one of the things being controlled. I saw a report issued by the director of the NNPC stating that 2 billion barrels of petroleum is being stolen every day.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which represents more than 80% of our daily output.
Yep.
Wow.
So I'm beginning to wonder, are those really being stolen, or are they just telling us they only report 20% of the daily output?
That's pretty much what
official.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because if this has been going on forever, fire those Fulanese out of those positions and put some competent people, please. This is where education comes in, right? You know, education, Fulani, you know, and NYSC. Let's not forget, we ran over NYSC. Why is NYSC important? Because they send their children to NNPC, NTA, and then they send your kids to a remote village to
go and teach something.
In the north. Yeah.
I mean, it's just laughable. The federal character, I mean,
guys, you guys need to see how all of this is, I mean, and it's so much. And the reason why it's important to bring it all together is because you have different narratives going on, right? And you're talking about them separately. Once you bring it together, last week we had someone, Stephen, I think you invited somebody last week. And in the comments, when he saw what we were talking about, he was like, wow.
Councillor Lambe.
Councillor Lambe,
yes.
When he saw it together, it was terrifying. And that's why our people need to understand. We come at these things from different angles. Because one of these angles is going to get to you so you understand what's going on. And we want the international community, the African community. When I say international, it's Africa, it's Europe, it's Asia, is anyone that has a soul, that has human blood going through their veins to understand what's going on. And just like South Africa, we need help. We need support to break out of the apartheid that has over 100 million people living in abject poverty.
Yeah.
By this small ethnic group called Fulani. They've already captured 4 countries' presidency, right? They've got Guinea, where they're from. They've got Nigeria. What was the other places? A couple of other places, right?
Yeah,
Senegal, I think.
Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, and Nigeria.
Exactly. These are people who are not indigenous to the area, but one small place, which means they move people from one country to the other.
Take over.
To make up their numbers. They move the same people to the next place. But as they're moving them, they're giving them money, 80% from the federal government, 20% from the state to give them ruga and land. They build the ranches for them, give them. So they keep moving people from one West African country to the other and taking it over. So all West African countries, listen up. Your constitution will state nobody that is non-ancestral to your land will be your president. Let's put a stop to this. If you're not there from before a certain period of time, you cannot be president. We're not the United States. We're not the United Kingdom, but the United Kingdom have that. You cannot be king or queen in the United Kingdom unless you have a certain pedigree. That should be the same thing that we have in West Africa, in Africa, so we can stop these people from going from country to country, killing, spreading terror, destroying farmland. It's enough.
It is, truly.
It's enough.
So
Okay,
how are they ruling?
You know, we've kind of talked about some of these, so I think we can just kind of, we've talked about a lot of these, so we can start to kind of wrap up.
Okay.
You know, wait, just go back up to, you know, the false narratives and the terror. We've seen it from Central African Republic. We've seen it in Ghana. We've seen it everywhere where the Fulani go. There is terror.
Yep.
Terror everywhere they go.
Mm-hmm.
There is terror. So the Africa needs to figure out how to deal with these people that go with terror everywhere. It's terrorizing everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was ludicrous for Antonio Guterres of the UN to ask Buhari to bring peace to the region. Are you asking him to remove the Fulanis, his own people? Is that what you're asking him to do? Because they're the ones causing the terror.
He's the source of the terror.
We looked at it, right? From country to country, we looked at it. It's all Fulanis that are causing the terror with their terrorist partners, the jihadist partners. Mm. So yes, terror is a way. And so when we talk about the complicit politicians, even we all heard it. Buhari said if he was not made president in 2015, that he was going to make Nigeria ungovernable. This is the person that became president.
President, yes.
Person
he said if he didn't win the election.
Terror,
yes.
Threatening terror, and went ahead and brought terror into Nigeria in a
he created Boko Haram
in a very big way. This is a person that supposedly was elected president, and the world ignores all his atrocities.
Well, again, I think you know, I mean, he couldn't have been able. I mean, he couldn't have been be able to, you know, to get through or be able to, you know, to get his wish or his wishes, if not for our, you know, our complicit.
Complicit,
you know,
yes. That's what remember we talked about our complicit,
you know,
indigenous people,
politicians. Yeah, politicians who just are so blind, and I don't think that they are blind.
They know
they're just greedy.
On.
They're just so greedy that they just cannot see the implications of what they're doing right now, because at the end of the day, they're all gonna suffer too.
Yes.
Their families
it's already started,
right? They just cannot see through. They cannot see through their nose, and I don't understand why. But you know, whether they change or they don't change, it's not really, I mean, it's really up to them. But what we are doing, we are done trying to adjust to the madness, because to me it's foolishness. We are not adjusting to the foolishness anymore, right? Because, you know, and because every 4 years they will come to the people, they will say, oh, don't worry, things are going to change once we change the leaders, once we do this, once we do that. Please do not fall for that. It is you adjusting to foolishness. So we need to wake up.
APC to PDP.
I know.
And they marry each other. Remember, like they're how they were marrying themselves.
That's because there are no permanent enemies in politics.
No.
Yes.
Well, you know, I would say their politics, the way they play their politics is despicable. So we are not going to be a part of that. That's why we need to not follow that. You know, I mean, the 2023 elections, we should stay clear of that. Stay clear of it. It's none of our business, really. Honestly speaking, they have decided
need to sign the petitions for referendum.
Exactly, and we're going to get to that.
That is very important.
Very, very important. We're going to get to that. But again, yes, that's the only way. In fact, the only way that we can stop them from taking over our land. And that is the only way for us to say enough is enough. And actually right now, enough is truly enough. I mean, it's enough now.
Yeah,
so
more than enough.
But in a minute,
I wanted to throw in another clincher into the discourse on the divide and conquer tool that's being used. You know, Buhari used the divide and conquer in 2015 successfully. He used it again in 2019 successfully by bringing, what's his name, Oshibajo in as vice president.
Yes.
Now, this divide and conquer rule is now spiraling uncontrollably, and this is how. Now that Buhari's term has expired, Oshibajo wants to become president. He's already campaigned.
Yeah.
Tinubu wants to be president.
Yeah.
Now, Oshibajo and Tinubu are fighting each other. And guess what? The divide and conquer rule has infiltrated part of the agitation community that some groups in the agitation for self-determination are actually convening to mediate the dispute between Oshibajo and Tinubu. What the hell do they care if they kill each other? That's what I'm trying to understand.
That's the thing. That is the thing. We think that if we can just get a politician from the middle belt to south, things are going to be fine. It won't. They're politicians. They don't care about you. They're eating your food. They're eating your children's food. And none of them are saying, when I become president, I am going to slash compensation so that my people will live. I am going to take away guns from all Fulani, take away their guns because human life is more important than cow life. None of them is saying that. None of them is saying that all those people that have been brought into Nigeria, that they need to give back the money, land, and everything that they've been given, give back the citizenship, and go back from whence they came. None of them are saying that.
I made some interesting observations.
Going to be on the side of indigenous Nigerians among politicians. I have not seen one. If you have, you can let me know.
I made some interesting observation while what's his name, Oshibajo was delivering his campaign speech. He said he had contributed, his administration had contributed to the security infrastructure of Nigeria. 5 minutes into the speech, he also said that he visited the various IDP camps. So first of all, are we in a war? Why are there IDP camps?
Thank you.
Secondly, so he's conceding that we have IDP camps in Nigeria, even though his administration has contributed immediately tremendously to the security infrastructure of the country.
Actually, it meant insecurity infrastructure. That's what it meant.
Thank you.
That's what it meant to say that.
Yes,
no, you should have
that's a good one,
insecurity.
That's a very good one.
Because they built an insecurity infrastructure. That's why they have IDP camps. That's why. Because you couldn't have built security infrastructure and have IDP camps. It does not go.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Mr. Falit, go ahead.
No problem. Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
So, but whose money is it that they're using? It's still our money that they're using for all of their,
Well, let's talk about that return of the money, right? This money belonged to Delta State.
Well, UK is giving it to Nigeria.
Yes, but who are they giving it? Who are they giving it to? In fact, they were Catriona. I think it was Catriona. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Whoever the UK and Nigeria, right? She said that this money was going to be going for projects in Kano State. None of it was going back to Delta, where the money came from. What the fricky frack is that? The money is from Delta.
But it's going to
the federal government is taking it because they said it was a federal offense. I laughed my head off. Malami or whoever said it was a federal offense. So the federal government deserved the money when the money came from Delta State, where it should go back to benefit the people that it was stolen from. But that's not what happens these days.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about who's ruling, the British, come on, guys. You know where the money came from. You should have insisted that it go back to the people where the money came from. It's not the federal government money. It is a state's money for the benefit of the indigenous Nigerians in that state. But it was hijacked. And the British allowed it to be hijacked. So we'll talk about who's ruling and the influence that's coming from Britain and from the US and the US, I mean, they provide aid to Nigeria. It just doesn't get to the indigenous Nigerians. That's how the Fulanis can pound their chest and say we have all the money. Of course they have the money. They've taken all the money. They're sitting on all the money. If 80% of the fuel is lost, who's stealing it? Because it's under Fulani control. So who is stealing it if it's under Fulani control? What about the oil wells?
Some Yoruba people are fishing
by
boats.
them and their stooges, right? And those who are complicit. So at the end of the day, we have not achieved our independence. We have actually lost our self-determination. We have lost our sovereignty. We had that sovereignty. We, like Ukraine, the eastern region, the western region, the midwestern region, and the middle belt that was supposed to be carved out as well. They have lost their sovereignty. A foreign element, the Fulani, have come into Nigeria and are colonizing Nigeria. So I'm going to just put up one thing for us to take a look at the definition, how that's defined, because there's this discussion that is not happening about the fact that the sovereignty of the indigenous Nigerians has been taken.
It's been trampled, yes.
And it is continuing to be taken to where they're in the process of being overrun and genocide, right? This is a definition. It says, it means a system, it's a system that the Europeans, right? It also means foreign rule on foreign lands. Everything that we have shown, guys, the Fulani are not indigenous to Nigeria. They are foreign rule. The foreign land is Nigeria. And as we showed, in every way that matters, where there is money, it's the Fulani. It's not indigenous Nigerians anymore. We don't have defense. We don't have police. We don't have aviation. We don't have water, power. We don't have the airways. We don't have the gas that, that belongs to us. And there are lots of other things, Zamfara gold belongs to Zamfara, but Delta oil belongs to Nigeria.
Belongs to Nigeria, yeah.
That solidifies the fact that the independence of the ethnic nationalities, of the indigenous nationalities, needs to be reclaimed. Needs to be reclaimed. And the people need to be very focused on that, because what we have right now is apartheid. What we have right now is genocide. What we have right now is ethnic cleansing. What we have right now is serious persecution that is going on by a small group of foreigners, Fulani, who are systematically distributing terror around Nigeria and West Africa. So guys, let us wrap up. I'll give each one an opportunity to wrap up and give, whatever word that you want to give to our people. It's up to you what you decide to tell them. Modupe?
Yes, as always, I want to put hope back in our people. So, and I'm saying this.
Keep hope alive.
Yes, we need to keep hope alive. So yeah, where we are, the predicament that we have right now, it looks very overwhelming, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't want us to lose track of that. So, but what can we do to make sure that we do not succumb to this, to the invaders that are trying to take over our land? What we need to do is to make sure that, first of all, whichever way you can to spread the word, you please share this with your contacts. Talk to people in your areas. Talk about about defending yourselves, like buying, like I said earlier, buy whistles. Make sure to be able to, because we're at that stage where the government is not going to defend you. We need to be there for each other, for one another. We need all to be there, and in unison, we need to reverse this situation. And we can reverse the situation because once we all understand where we are and why we got here and why we need to get out of it fast, then it will be easier for us to mount that internal resolve that each you and I and every single individual possess, to come together, as a people, because again, power resides in the people, right? So we can reverse the situation. We will stand our ground, and nobody's going to take over our land. But please make sure that you sign the petition, right? The Ominira Ile Yoruba petition, and you also sign the NINAS referendum. Because once we have a document, or we all speak in one accord, we all speak with one voice, that yes, we are not going to allow anybody to take over our land. Once we say that, and in unison, we are able to reverse the situation. Honestly, we are able to reverse, because at the moment, we do not have any reason to be in a union. That union has since expired. Since 2014, it expired. What they have right now is a fraudulent document that they are using, and they're trying to trick you. They are trying to trick you to give them the authority to continue to use that document. So if you go and you vote for them in 2023 and you participate in that election, what you're doing is to legitimize the illegitimate, because that document is invalid and is illegitimate. So the only way we can make sure that we stand our ground is in unison. We sign those documents to say, yes, this is what we want, and we're going to uphold it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. I just want to remind us that the nation that forgets its history is likely to repeat the mistakes of the past. The mistakes of the past have been very, very damaging to us culturally, psychologically, and otherwise. A few important things to remember about today's discourse. Even though the caliphate has tried, albeit unsuccessfully, to remove our history from our curriculum, we cannot forget that the Fulanis were never indigenous to Nigeria. They are descendants of the nomadic tribes of the mountains of Guinea. One, they have progressively and systematically used indirect rule, okay, to take over our land. We cannot sleep on that and continue with the status quo. It is time to rise up and mount a defense. They have, over the years, used religion, economics, and politics to divide and conquer. They are using it now. And we just need to come to that realization and rise up and fight back. And we can do it. We talked about the power of the people. The very, very recent history, as recently as 2011, the Central African Republic people rose up and took over their lands. And that's how these tribal nomads moved to Nigeria in the last 10, 11 years to come and continue the hegemony. And we can drive them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Donald.
Well, I don't really have much to say. It's just a very unfortunate situation that we found ourselves. There's nothing as bad as seeing the enemy coming towards you. You're aware of it, and everybody seems to be aware, but everybody seems to believe there's a way out without having to do anything. It's very unfortunate. So, we just hope to pray the enlightenment processes that is going through, that we're doing, is going to actually wake the people up. Or like I was speaking with Jim, I don't know if it's today or yesterday. I said 2023 will likely, because these people are very mischievous. They have gotten into power. They have been able to foster the agenda they have gone too far in it, and they have an idea. They know that a lot of people are not happy with them. They know that they are out of the seat of power, that the people might actually enforce the change that they want. So there are tendencies that they might want to double down and find, like the Governor Tom said, that they probably want to hand over to the
Boko Haram.
bandit.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the operations of the bandits,
yeah,
I'm talking about the headsmen. That's another wonderful, and let me not say that, a very terrible situation. But when you look at the activities of the bandits,
it's a tool.
The Nigerian military seems very helpless. The police seems helpless. Just like what is happening in the Boko Haram, the military they appear to be helpless. And in truth, when you see the actual foot soldiers, you see them crying in the forest because they are being abandoned, they are being set up to die.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing is also happening with the headsmen. Those in authority appear to be helpless. It is the same Nigerian army. I know that will not be a situation that the military will be helpless. I know that for sure. So, but when you look at all these things, see that they're systematically going towards something. That's something we do not know.
Well, we do know. I mean, like they are putting, 35,000 repentant into the.
We don't know how. We know the end game, but we don't know how the flow charts on how they want to get there.
Exactly.
The one thing we know is that they are instigating fear. They're making it difficult for anybody to say, let me wait and fight. Because like it was earlier said here, they have disarmed the people and armed these bandits. Boko Haram or headsmen. See, now they have broken themselves into so many
names, but they're all the same.
Names. Yeah.
But they're all the same.
They're terrorists.
Yes.
They have refused to call the murderers terrorists. Have refused to call the headsmen terrorists. They have refused to call the bandits. But look at the name they're giving to them.
Yeah.
Something that they could look at.
Businessmen. They're calling them El-Rufai. Call bandits businessmen, kidnappers, businessmen.
He said they are businessmen. They are not like IPOP that wants to succeed. These ones are businessmen, and you look at those kind of people, and they say those things, and they get away with it. So it brings more frustration that we are in serious trouble. So, like I said, I'm believing that 2023 might come up with something, because they have gone too far to leave the agenda in the hands of the unknown. Because if you say let's hand over power to the South, or let's hand over power to anybody, they don't know what that person might do. They don't know if the person that is going to come after 2 years, the person has enough power, if he's going to continue the agenda or not. So I'm not sure they want to take that risk. I'm sure they want to find a way to create chaos. And whatever chaos they're going to create to bring in the military, whatever they want to do might actually be the savior. Because the awakening is on a very high level. So now everybody is closely observing everything. And who knows? Nigerians, we have a way of responding to things. Things that appears to be things that are that people will respond to, we might not respond to. Things that looks like something passive is what we might respond to. And why this is going to be different is that it's not just one person or one age range or one tribe or one region that will respond to it. It's going to be a chain reaction because they are going to try to retain power. And because the whole country knows how difficult it is to survive amidst the fear of being driven out of your home. It has never been this bad. So people are possibly going to respond to it. I just believe so. I just believe so because I do not think these people are really going to take chances with an election and hand over government to somebody else they cannot trust. And I do not think that Nigerians will be ready to have another Fulani person as a president. I don't think Nigerians are going to have that, and I don't think they are ready to hand over power to someone. So whatsoever we are doing, all we just need to do is to keep educating people and putting people on high alerts, because it might not get to 2023 when they are going to want to hit their end game because they are possibly very stupid and they think Nigerians have acted very stupid for a very long time. But as it is, I do not think Nigerians want to continue with these foreigners ruling over us. And I do not think these foreigners are willing to take the chances of handing over power to indigenous Nigerians, even if they do so to a middle belter. The middle belter is going to run them out of town, and they don't want to take that down. So something is going to break. We are going to have a referendum. I strongly believe so, because if not, then we are in trouble. But I believe there's going to be a breaking point. We're going to have a referendum. There's going to be chaos, and a lot of people are going to be more interested in what is happening. Thank you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, the situation that's going on. And, as Mother said, we need to have real eyes, because we've got people with sophisticated weapons, not just the guns, but the drones. And we've seen some of the sophisticated things that they carry in the forest, right? So we need to, even the rudimentary things that we have. After all, Ukraine used Molotov cocktails to take out tanks. Okay, so it can be done. You can defend ourselves. Before the advent of guns, etc., we all had traditional methods of defending ourselves. If we have to go back to that for now, then that's what we do. Because then there's a tactics that you use with regards to being able to defend yourself in that scenario. We have lots of natural things, that in our environment that can help us. So we just need to be. Our people need to be really thinking, and it's unfortunate that we didn't react quickly when T.Y. Danjuma issued that call and made it clear, because if anyone is going to know, he will know. He will know. So everything that everybody else has been talking about since then has just been solidifying what he said. He came outright. He did not mince words at all. He put it exactly what's going on, and he should know. And so it's never too late for us to, rally our people. Paul, did you want to make some final comments, and then, we'll be rolling off? Okay, so again, let's just encourage our people. You got to sign the petition. There are petitions that's going on. And we had discussed the fact that there's one that is like for everyone. And then each indigenous nationality needs to also gather their people, because the referendum is going to be, in your indigenous nationalities. Okay. We've got the, go ahead, Paul, if you're ready, go ahead. That's what I was calling on you. We've got the NINAS that has worked up the plan under the 1999 Constitution and go to the referendum. And so now we're just asking all the other groups, everyone needs to unite. We need to unite. You need to spread the word. The word needs to be spread. It has to be spread. Go ahead, Paul, unmute yourself. I'm asking you to unmute. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Yes, Paul, I'm telling you to unmute, but you're not unmuting. Okay, there you go. Are you unmuted now? I don't know what's going on. You know what? Let me see if I can make him co-host, if that would help him. Okay, try now, Paul. It might be just your network. Try now to unmute. No, he's not unmuting. Paul, are you trying to unmute? Because I have made you a co-host and we're still not able to hear you.
Has the message come to everybody to unmute?
Yeah, I made him a co-host, for him to unmute, but he's not. It's for some reason he's not able to. Let's see.
Maybe he's on phone.
I'm gonna mute everybody and okay, Paul, try again to unmute. Okay, we can't seem to get him to unmute. Okay, sorry, Paul. We can't, I'm not sure what's going on that you're not able to unmute. So thank you again, everyone, for another session, very informative session. There was a lot of great things that were talked about. One of the things is with regards to the divide and conquer. This is where we're calling on all indigenous Nigerians to unite. Forget about whether you're in Imo, Enugu, if you're in the south, in the eastern region. Forget about if you're in Lagos State or your state or Osun State or Yoruba. Forget about those lines. Those lines are placed there to divide you. And then if you're in the middle belt, forget about those lines. And one of the things that has been very damaging, and we talked about, is that certain groups that are part of the middle belt has been put in with others in Kaduna, for instance. And then they're just being systematically ethnic cleansing going on over there. Millions of people being displaced. Hundreds of thousands are being killed on a daily basis. We must unite from the middle belt to the south. In calling on our House of brothers who are in the far north, that are indigenous, you too must arise, because you are part of this union that is this union in this land space. In this land space, you own land, your ancestral land owners. Unity is our strength. We gotta forget about all this vying with each other from the presidency, because politics is not the answer. The people is the answer. Thank you all again, and see you next week, same time. Everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jane.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Jane,
Yes.
please, would you be kind enough to send me
Attention, attention. IPOB One Family. This announcement is for those outside of the USA that wish to donate to the Eastern Security Network Fund that is based in the United States. Because of the fees that donators have to pay the bank when sending wires, we recommend that if you're sending less than $250, that you donate through the IPOB USA website. It's fast, simple, and less expensive for you. Go to our website, www.ipobinusa.org/donate. That is www.ipobinusa.org/donate and make your contribution. When it comes to keeping our people safe, every bit counts. After all, the security of our communities is our responsibility. Let's make this happen together.
Heard about GoDaddy Websites Plus marketing? Build a website for free and get found online with GoDaddy.
Your work can feel much smoother with Monday.com WorkOS. This smooth. All you need to do to get started is choose one of our templates, add your teammates, and that's it. You can manage all your work in one place, even work from other platforms. Just start using it. It's super intuitive. Oh, and if you don't like something, just change it. And that? And what about that? Ooh. You can really work the way you want. Your team can even add powerful dashboards for high-level views and time-saving automations. Anyone can do it, and they can do it in minutes. No matter how complex your work, it stays easy with Monday.com.
No matter how powerful you are, God is revealing to you that there is a law, the law of seasons. It has nothing to do with you being good. It has nothing to do with you being bad. It is the